All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the line, Gordon Whittington is here, and you're from the North American Whitetail, the editor, correct?
Currently editor emeritus. That means I've been put out the pasture, but 36 years as actually daily involved with the editorial at North American Whitetail, and some of that time producing North American Whitetail television.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that's what that meant. That's put out the pasture. There you go. Well, Gordon, you're taking part in the Iowa Deer Classic this weekend, correct?
Yes, I will be doing 2 seminars Saturday and then 2 more on Sunday, and look forward to that.
Of course, the Iowa Deer Classic coming to the Iowa Event Center this weekend, the 4th through the 6th. You can get details about it over at our website. Plus, I'll have the information at the bottom of the page. Gordon, tell us a little bit about yourself. You were an editor for a long time. I take it you're a hunter. I mean, you probably don't do something like this without being a hunter, correct?
Yeah, you kind of have to live the lifestyle to really be in the whitetail industry, if you will. It's a fascinating thing. I started deer hunting when I was 5, and I just turned 66, so that's a pretty good while of being involved with deer. But my entire professional career, I've been involved in the outdoors with magazines and writing and editing and in TV production. So it's been fascinating, but the whitetail, is a fascinating animal, and Iowa certainly, some people would say the epicenter of trophy whitetail hunting.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of those places where all the magical elements basically have come together to create a special situation. And I don't know how much people in Iowa, understand that it's way better than most other places, but it certainly is. And a lot of hunters do know that, but it's one of those magical spots.
Now, you talk about that, and I'm from Iowa. Unfortunately, I'm not a hunter, so I really don't know. But what makes it so special that whitetail like being here?
Well, we'll see, I think, and I'm going to talk about it in my seminars, which I try to make as localized as possible. I don't just do generic deer seminars. I try to tailor them to the place and the crowd that I'm talking to.
Okay.
And what makes Iowa a little bit different is not just geography, and it's not just hunting pressure, and it's not just the crop situation. There's a lot of things that happen to come together for it to kind of be in the sweet spot, and all those things come into play. Some people would say genetics, although I intend to show that might not necessarily be the case in my seminar. But I will say this: Iowa has a foundation of a deer herd probably as there is in the world, and the elements that have all come together with habitat and hunting pressure, hunting regulations, it's made it into a really special place.
That's really interesting. See, I've lived here my whole life, and I had no idea about it. Gordon Whittington on the line with me right now. He's going to be at the Iowa Deer Classic. Huge hunter. Let me ask you this. For somebody like me, going to one of these seminars, what should I look out for? Because if I'm starting out in the hunting world, like you said, you started when you were 5. For someone who, like me, maybe I'm interested. Maybe I want to go, spend some more time in nature, and this is a good place to start. What would you tell me to go look at and do at these at the Iowa Deer Classic this weekend?
Well, part of it is just being around people that are involved in that lifestyle. It's just like going to a classic car show or to any sort of a specialized interest group of people. There's a whole level of complexity to it that you can't pick up on the front end, and frankly, it would just bewilder and intimidate you maybe if you tried to. So you have to just kind of go in with baby steps and just understand that, you need a place to hunt, obviously, but you also need training and practice and good equipment that will allow you to be successful when you do get an opportunity. And so between the seminars, a lot of online stuff out there now, obviously North American Whitetail magazine, we cover some of this too. There's a lot of places for people to get information, but just don't try to bite off too big a chunk all at once. Just kind of let it come naturally to you. And as you have questions, well, there's a ton of people out there who can answer them. So don't be afraid to ask them.
Gordon, what would be the first step? Like if I was really going to, let's say I want to go hunt whitetail with you at some point, what would be the first thing I need to do?
Well,
get a gun, maybe.
yeah, but you need some kind of a quote weapon. But at the same time, a lot of people that get into hunting really don't start out trying to shoot a deer. They just go out on nature trails. They go out driving through the country. or they watch videos or TV or whatever, and they realize, hey, I can kind of learn about this animal without necessarily being in a stand trying to shoot one.
Okay.
But once you're to the point where you're comfortable with the idea of shooting a deer, and not everybody is, I understand that, but if you are interested in it and maybe you just want a natural meat supply, maybe that's your rationale for it. You're not necessarily interested in a trophy buck. You just want to be successful and fill a deer tag. Then there, you have to have a place to go, obviously, too. But it does start really with just a fundamental interest in the activity. And then if you have a mentor, it is a huge plus. Some people get into it kind of self-taught, but this really is it's a rural lifestyle naturally, but anymore it's becoming more a suburban lifestyle too. But you need a mentor. It doesn't have to be your dad or uncle or grandpa, but it needs to be someone who knows the ropes a little bit. They can help you so much avoid some of the obvious mistakes that otherwise you might make.
All right, that makes sense. Part of me likens it to the guy or the gal that get a motorcycle for the first time, and the next thing you know, they're all in Harley stuff or leathers, or you know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah, or they're wrapped around a stop sign somewhere because they didn't ask all the right questions before they went out and did something stupid. Now, there's not as much of a price to pay for ignorance, obviously when you're deer hunting as there is when you're riding a motorcycle. But fundamentally, it's the same thing. Some people jump all into it with both feet, and some people just dabble around the edges for their whole life, really.
It's kind of an interesting, the mentor thing has come up a couple times with this. How would you go about finding a mentor? Like,
if you don't have if you don't have a family member who's into it, or a next door neighbor, or a guy down the street, or whatever, a lot of times you can ask at a local sporting goods store. You can, again, sometimes you can look online. Social media has really been a big help because there's so many places where you can just type in Iowa deer hunting, for instance, on Facebook or Instagram or somewhere, and you'll start to find and meet people that way. And sometimes they're right down the road from you. So, but if nothing else, you become kind of part of that community. You learn the lingo, which is a big part of any of these specialized, interests.
Yeah.
It's, learning how to communicate with other people that are doing it. And you'll find people that are very eager to help. And sometimes they're relatively local to you as well, especially a place like Des Moines. There's a lot of deer hunters. And not just in the small towns around it, but really all over the place. And so it isn't too hard to find one, and most people are very friendly and helpful.
All right, Gordon Whittington, going to be at the Iowa Deer Classic this weekend. When are your seminars again?
I've got one. I don't have the schedule right in front of me, but I have one midday on Saturday, and then I think the second one is at 4. That one will be on managing land for deer, not just hunting, but managing land. And then I have one, I think, at 10:30, and then maybe 12:30 on Sunday. Again, one of them is about lessons learned from big bucks in Iowa, and number 2 is on managing land for big bucks in Iowa.
Perfect. Gordon, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it, sir.
I'm glad to do it, and happy to see everybody and shake their hand this weekend.